We've got Johnathan Fahey, and the two questions that I'm going to ask our legal expert, just saw him on Fox News, I think last night or the night before. John Bolton and Letitia James. How much trouble are they in? We're going to talk to Johnathan Fahey about that coming up about 7:36. Journey's Johnathan Kane is going to join us at 8:05 right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Going to talk about his new song, and it is dedicated to the memory of and in tribute of Charlie Kirk. Hey, Joan.
Yes.
Did you see Mitch McConnell fall? I'm not laughing.
Oh,
Bad Mandis.
no.
I'm not laughing.
Stop, Bad Mandis.
So, listen, yesterday we were talking about, I got challenged by somebody. Hey, you talked about Nancy Pelosi yesterday needing help walking. You're going to talk about Mitch McConnell? He's a Republican, you know.
No.
So.
Shut up.
If you. Yeah. You know, and I need that on my side. So Mitch McConnell was walking yesterday. And for you folks watching on YouTube, I'm going to play the audio. There's a woman, Joan, you've seen this, right?
I'm watching it right now.
There is a woman who is pestering Mitch McConnell, who is walking through this. I don't know if this is Congress or what this is, but he needs help to walk, just like Nancy Pelosi.
Without the guy holding him, his walk is very labored.
Mitch McConnell is 83 years old. Mm. And do you believe, yes or no, Joan? Do you believe that Mitch McConnell is all there with his faculties?
No, I do not.
Sam?
That engine is misfiring.
All right. Super texters, yes or no? Just that's all I need. Yes or no? 615-737-9986. Do you believe that Mitch McConnell is all there from a faculty perspective? He is walking, and there's a woman badgering him about kidnapping children. Listen close.
Go for it. Go for it. Excuse me, Senator? My name is Stella. I want to ask, do you support ICE taking working people off the streets and kidnapping them?
Can you repeat what she said? I couldn't.
Yeah, it had something to do with kidnapping children.
Do you support ICE kidnapping children off the streets?
Now, here's the thing. If you really look closely at this video, a couple of things are going on. So he's got an assistant or whoever it was, and literally, Joan, their hands are clasped, right? They are, and for people watching on YouTube, I'm rewinding the tape. So this guy has two hands on Mitch McConnell's right hand helping him walk. When he realizes that there is a woman who is asking a question of Mitch McConnell and videoing, what does the guy do?
He lets go.
He lets go because Mitch McConnell and his assistant here doesn't want to be seen on camera helping Mitch McConnell walk. And so then they're walking. McConnell goes 1, 2, 3, I think about 5 or 6 steps. She gets through the question, and down he goes. And he falls.
McConnell actually reaches out. He feels that he's going to fall.
He feels like he's going down.
And he grabs for the guy's arm again.
Yep. And
kidnapping them?
And so now you got 2 people helping him up. And then he now to McConnell's credit, he laughs and he waves at the camera. In that when they help him back up, he laughs and waves at the camera, but still.
So back in 2023, it was in the summer of 2023 that he froze up on during public appearances twice.
He did that. He froze up several times, Joe.
Yeah,
several times.
2023, hospitalized after tripping at a hotel during a private dinner. I mean. And he's been in Congress since 1985.
I was a junior in high school.
That's older than my parents' marriage.
That's insane.
I was a junior in high school. That is insanity. And listen, I'm not hating on Mitch McConnell. But as we spoke about with Nancy Pelosi, dude, go home And, okay, here's the question. You want to do a Daily Dan poll?
Quietly into the night.
Let's do a Daily Dan poll. Joan, is this an appropriate question?
Is it time for McConnell to trip out of the Capitol forever?
No.
No, out of the Rayburn House. I'm sorry.
Should Mitch McConnell be given a cognitive test? Because I think this is a clear, and I mean a clear example of a politician who should be given some sort of a cognitive test to see if they're still all there. If we haven't learned anything as a country from Joe Biden and Dianne Feinstein.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, Mitch McConnell is going to be the guy that is going to be like Dianne Feinstein, where she was, how long was she in the Senate? And people knew that she wasn't all there cognitively?
Yeah, and she disappeared.
What did she, her daughter was doing the votes for or something like that? So I'm sorry, but so take the Daily Dan poll. Would you support legislation in Congress, you could call it the McConnell Act, where...
it's got to be the Biden Act.
Where you are a member of Congress, Senate, House, whatever, and you start showing signs of dementia or you're starting to show signs of frailty, should you be given a cognitive test? I'm not into, age limitations. That's not what I'm into. But what I am into is making sure that these folks are all there. And let me ask you this. Do you believe that Mitch McConnell willingly stepped down as Republican leader in the Senate?
No.
I don't think it was. I don't think he did that for the good of the party. I think that he was forced.
Yeah.
So
and to that point, I would give an alternate perspective that
hey Joan, listen to this. Go ahead, Sam.
There is some fodder to the cannons that he tripped himself to avoid answering the question.
That is so dumb. That is so dumb.
Biden just walked off during questions.
So a couple things. Number one is here's the thing. There's an obvious answer to the woman's question.
If you're not cognitively impaired.
Now, Mitch McConnell, did he purposely fall to avoid answering the question?
He did not look like that was a purposeful
No, he was
fall.
reaching out to his assistant to try to
brace for the fall that he was about to trip himself on. It looks too much like a toddler that didn't want to get in trouble for something and oopsie, I fell. Watch me cry about my knee that I just skinned.
Disagree.
So, Joan, Sam says, and Sam who has no children.
Right.
No, but I've worked with plenty of old people.
Sam says, have you ever known an old person to fall if they can't answer a question?
Old people are afraid to fall because their bones will break and they'll end up in the hospital.
That's why he reached out and braced for him.
Because Sam said this is what toddlers do. When toddlers don't want to answer a question, Sam says that they fake fall or fake hurt themselves. I will tell you that my kids never did that. Ever did that. Joan, with your kids, did they ever do that? Purposely make themselves fall or get hurt so that they didn't have to take accountability or responsibility?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Jay Jones could have done that in the debate last night, but he didn't. Probably should have. It probably would have been better than what he did. Anyway.
But and to that point, though, about ages and term limits, it's not ageist. Your point, you don't want to be ageist to bring, but in literally every other format of public service, if you are physically or cognitively incapable, you are forced into retirement. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. 9134, by the way, from a nurse. You don't have to be cognitively impaired to fall. Certainly true.
Yeah.
Certainly true. But I think because he's frozen up multiple times, Mitch McConnell has.
Well, and he's got ankle braces on. You can see it at the end of the video in his shoes. Yeah.
Ankle bracelets? What do they do?
Braces. Like
braces.
To stiffen.
Got it.
My grandfather has a foot injury stemming from the 1950s, and so he wears something similar underneath his tennis shoes to stabilize his base.
Hey, guys, want to hear something funny? 8811. I always hate when I log into YouTube and my reality is crushed. How is it that Dan looks hip and younger than Chris and Chad?
I love that.
Wow. Is that true? I don't think I look hipper than.
I mean, neutral colors like that work on you.
It's the hat.
Is it the hat?
Yeah.
All right.
Because if they saw your...
I don't know. I think it's the jacket with the nice buttons.
Joan Jones, you finish your sentence.
If they saw your bald head, I think they'd feel otherwise.
All right, so just so we're clear, I don't wear a hat to hide my bald head. I wear a hat because I happen to enjoy wearing hats, and my wife bought me this hat, and I like. Do you think my wife buys me the hat so that I look young and hip?
Could be
young
and the scruff too. You know that's pretty that's hip.
Yeah, it did irk me when you shaved a week and a half ago. I didn't like that. Don't do that.
Can we move on, please? You know how you got J.B. Prickster and some of these other folks that are saying that Trump supporters are nothing but a bunch of white supremacists? So I thought this was interesting. There is a kid, we did play this earlier in the 5 o'clock hour. There's a kid who is thanking Donald Trump for sending the National Guard into Memphis. And along with, by the way, it's not just the National Guard. It's a whole bunch of other law enforcement agencies as well. They're calling this a surge.
My name is Braylon, and I live here in Memphis. I've been noticing not just a slight change, more of a detrimental change in like how peaceful Memphis is ever since the National Guard came. There was a lot of things I couldn't do before the National Guard came because I had to worry a lot about guns and stuff. I couldn't play because I was worried that somebody might pull out a gun or something, but now I could do that, and I just wanted to thank the President of the United States for bringing the National Guard.
So if you couldn't hear that because of the music that's too loud, come on, people. Little kid is thanking Donald Trump for bringing in the National Guard. I love it. And so the joke, of course, on social media is, well, the new face of white supremacy, right? Now, Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris posted to Facebook last night that this is an occupation where he says we are going down this road of losing our freedoms. Again, that is Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris. Dumb. You know, I'd ask Lee Harris, how exactly is it that we are in Memphis, you folks, they're losing their freedoms or we are losing our freedoms? Because it does seem to me that this little kid, the one that I just played, he is now free to play in his front yard, play in his backyard as well. There is a woman that went viral, and I want to get to this real quick. Johnathan Fahey coming up at 7:38. But I want to play this woman who went viral. This was earlier this week. And what an incredible story that she has. She is a journalist, and she is a journalist who unfortunately lost her job. And the reason why she lost her job is because of the fact that she spoke out and said basically the same thing that this little kid said, which was that things are going really well in Memphis. This is a woman, mind you, this is a woman that was homeless. And she's actually now working as a reporter, or was, until she came out and said thank you to Donald Trump.
But I will say thank you to Trump for bringing these National Guards and doing what they're doing down here in Memphis right now. You know, for the first time in 5 years. I've been in my home for 5 years. And for the first time, my kids have been able to play in the backyard and be able to do it comfortably.
Yep.
I haven't heard a gunshot in 2 weeks. I'm sitting on my porch right now, and I'm watching kids outside playing.
Yep.
People outside walking with their kids, stuff I ain't never seen before living in my neighborhood. I'm happy. I'm happy. Honestly, I truly feel that this is just a band-aid to the problem. I don't think this is going to completely fix everything. But to have a moment of peace, just thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus, and thank you to Donald Trump. That is Delicia Ballinger. She was a reporter for the Tri-State Defender. That is described as an African-American newspaper that covers areas of Memphis, Arkansas, and Mississippi. She posts that video. It goes viral. She gets fired. Isn't that sad? She was an education reporter. They fired her for posting a video about how great things are with the National Guard and other law enforcement agencies in town. This woman has 2 kids. She, as I said, she used to be homeless. She pulled herself up, got a good job, only to be fired when she simply described, as a reporter should, what was happening around her in her neighborhood. Gotta love the tolerance of the left, right? Meantime, we've been talking about this. We spoke about this earlier this week, where they had 854 arrests of violent criminals, bunch of known gang members, 180 illegal guns were seized, and they found 45 missing children. And remind me yesterday, Joan, a 70-year-old guy that had been raping a 3-year-old?
Yeah, a child under the age of 3.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, listen, whether it is that little 8-year-old kid or this woman here who was sadly fired by the tolerant left for saying how great things were in Memphis. Joan, yes or no? Zelensky going to wear a suit, yes or no?
No.
Sam, yes or no? Zelensky going to wear a suit?
He could at least copy Fetterman and wear a hoodie.
You know what? He could come in, he could wear a hoodie with like Donald Trump's face on it. Mm-hmm. He could do that because he wants those Tomahawk missiles. I want to welcome onto the program Johnathan Fahey. Always appreciate having you on. Johnathan is our legal analyst, former director of ICE under Trump administration, the first one. And I'm appreciative that Fox is allowing me to share you with them, and you've always got great analysis. So let's talk about John Bolton, former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton. He has now been indicted. Is it 18 different charges or whatever it is? Talk to me about what you believe is going to happen with John Bolton. Is he screwed?
This looks really, really bad for him. This is much worse than I thought it would be in terms of the transmission of classified documents, multiple times, transmitting them to, I believe it was his daughter and his wife, who don't have security clearances. And that's a really big deal and takes it into another world of just, not to say just possessing classified documents, but when you're transmitting them on your private email. And by the way, his email was hacked by Iran during this time period. So it just shows how serious this is, national security-wise. I think this is really tough for him because I'm assuming they have the email records that show this and show these things are classified documents or classified information. And the thing that's also bad about it, it seems like this went on over a long period of time with a substantial amount of classified information, which also takes it out of a world of maybe inadvertent mistake or maybe anything that would be mitigating. It just seems really, really bad for him. And if he's convicted, this is the type of thing people typically serve fairly significant amounts of time in prison for. They could, I'm talking in terms of years. So, yeah, this is bad, much, much worse than I would have expected just from reading stuff beforehand.
Well, because from what I can tell, and by the way, among the technology seized from Bolton's home, 2 iPhones, a red one, and 2 camera lenses and a black one in a black case, 3 computers, including a silver Dell XPS laptop with cables, a Dell Precision Tower computer model, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And apparently, yeah, he was sending this stuff to his daughter and I guess his wife. And one of the things that it seems like he was doing was he was reflecting on, in real time, on his time in the Trump White House. And he's just sort of, as he goes along, he's saying that Donald Trump, for example, lacks the competence and the character to be president. And he's clearly, seems to me anyway, bashing his boss behind his boss's back. And it just, we were talking about this earlier, apparently he was writing in this sort of journal that he was not breaking the law as he was going along, which, I have no idea if John Bolton's a lawyer or not, but I just found that kind of silly. By the way, I'm doing all this, but I'm not breaking the law.
Yeah, it seems really bad. It speaks really poorly of John Bolton. He's working for Donald Trump and then bad-mouthing him at the same time to other people is really bad. And also the fact that he was doing this so he could write a book and make money. So that's also really bad as well. So this isn't, again, the world of like inadvertent disclosures or things like that. This is seemed to be a calculated effort, to do this so that he could ultimately make money, sell a book, increases, fame and notoriety and things like that. So all these things look really, really bad for him. And it'll be interesting, quite honestly, to find out what the defense is. My guess is it will be something like maybe these weren't classified documents, wasn't classified information, but I don't see how that really flies, with so much of it. So yeah, this is a real head scratcher in terms of how bad it was. Also reflects badly on the politicization of the Justice Department under Biden, because they had all this information and they also had a civil suit against him, and they dropped the criminal investigation as well as the civil suit. Again, why did they do that? Probably, at that point, Bolton is an enemy of Trump.
Right. I thought it was interesting. One source telling Fox News Digital that I can't give you any more details, but let's just say that John Bolton really had some nerve to attack Trump over his handling of classified information. I mean, and you're right. There's a difference between what Trump did, which was, he packed a bunch of boxes and took them back to Mar-a-Lago. But Bolton is actually, transmitting this stuff, logging this stuff, trying to say, oh, I'm not breaking the law when I'm doing this. It seems like Bolton is pretty blatant on this.
Yeah, exactly. Just so very cavalier about it. And just the distinction between Trump, there was nothing that said he was ever transmitting or doing anything nefarious with it. And these weren't even things that I think he packed. And it was, again, there are multiple defenses that Trump had that Bolton does not have. But it just is the audacity of Bolton to get on these shows and just ripping Donald Trump, acting like he was horrified that Donald Trump could have had classified information after leaving the White House. Meanwhile, he, at the time, presumably Bolton had classified information at his home, had been transmitting it. It's just the height of, hypocrisy. I mean, it's Washington 101. I mean, if you really think about it. It's like before this, the only one that seemed to be handling classified documents well was President Trump, and he was the one that got in trouble for it. It's, because you look at Hillary Clinton, the same thing as with Bolton. They were, transmitting classified docs on, private. Hers was private server. His was just an AOL email, but very, puts the national security in, quite high risk when you're doing that.
Well, and it also shows you that John Bolton, I think that Bolton was one of those, as national security advisor under Trump in the first administration. It does show you that there were people who I think Trump brought on board when he didn't necessarily want to, sort of as a give up to the Republican Party, and it turns around and bites him in the butt, Donald Trump, because he brought in people that were seemingly conspiring against him. Let's talk about Letitia James. So I want to make sure I have this right. So she buys a house, tells the lender that it is going to be a second home to get favorable terms on a loan. She ends up renting it out. And now, from what I understand, she rents it out to a family member who I guess is a felon.
Yeah, this thing gets even more fun to follow as it goes along, but more interesting as well. Yeah, it does seem like it was to basically rent it out to a felon relative. So it makes it even worse than we initially thought, which was, I think the initial thought was she just, said it was this to get a favorable rate, but now she's renting it out to somebody that's a felon, and I think maybe even a fugitive from another state. So really, really bad here, and it just shows, I think her case, again, this was another one that I thought, I didn't know how bad it would be, and it sounds really, really bad for her, because it just seems like what she was doing seems a lot more calculated, a much more calculated scheme than simply maybe checking a box that wasn't the right box or something like that, as probably the media was portraying this. But this was a scheme to basically rent it out to a relative that presumably, because of probably bad credit, but also maybe convictions, could not get a loan, because, again, it made no sense for Letitia James to buy a $137,000 second home in Norfolk, Virginia. Just none of it added up, and now this kind of now at least that part of it's making some sense.
Oh yeah, and so I don't know if they're harboring a fugitive. I don't. People are throwing out all kinds of things, but could she actually lose her law license?
If she's convicted, she could lose her law license, because it really is, one of the things you lose a law license for, one, if you're, convicted of a felony or things like that, but also it's also more important when they're crimes that involve dishonesty and fraud. And these are things that are, all of us, we, not that people don't make mistakes, but this does not seem to be make a mistake, fill out these forms and do so in good faith and do so honestly. And we have to pay a higher rate when we deserve to pay a higher rate. And so it does seem to me the type of thing that would generally put a law license in jeopardy. My thought is New York State will never do it because of the politics of it, because she's a New York bar, but I don't know much about the New York bar. It just seems pretty bad to me.
Yeah, and the fact that she, obviously not to belabor the point, but she went after Donald Trump on similar accusations. And for her, you're right, it does seem very calculated. One of the questions that I would ask, and I haven't seen a timeline, but if she specifically bought that $137,000 home specifically for that I think it was a niece, and if she specifically bought the home for the niece to rent out, or if she had the rental home and then she eventually rented it out to the niece, I think that the timeline would tell us what her ultimate intentions were. But the fact that she keeps coming out and saying that, this is only Donald Trump going after his political opponents, I think that is beginning to fall on deaf ears. The more that we find out about Letitia James and the more that we find out about John Bolton, I don't know about Comey, but I think Comey is guilty as all heck out. So I just think that the more that they say that Trump is going after his political enemies, I just think that the more we find out about these cases, it is clear that these folks, presumed innocent, but it seems like there's a lot that they've done here that they need to be held accountable for.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's kind of a funny point that it's almost like people use the fact that they're an enemy of Donald Trump to almost say, well, that means I can never be prosecuted for anything because I hate Donald Trump. Yep. I mean, it's a sort of a fun irony in this whole thing, but it's really is rich with Letitia James, who campaigned on getting Donald Trump without even knowing what she was trying to get him for, but just like, I'm going to find something to harm him, harm his business, harm his family. And that's really the ugly thing about what she did to him. It wasn't as if there was some factual situation known and they're going to get to the bottom of it. It was like, I don't care. I'm just going to get this person. And that is really abhorrent. And that's what really should scare people. Unfortunately, people in New York and Democrats, I haven't heard anyone really defend that case that well, but I have never heard anyone really on the Democrat side saying, hey, this is really ugly what she did.
So do you think that John Bolton will actually go to prison?
If he's convicted, I think yes. People with these, and again, this is the qualifying. I don't know the facts and everything else, but people convicted with these types of offenses generally serve some time. So I would think if he's convicted, generally somebody in that situation would. The mitigating factors for him, he's, I think, 76 years old. He doesn't have a criminal record and things like that play in his favor. But this is a pretty serious thing. The length of the amount of time, the sharing of the information, all put it in another category of seriousness. So I would find it hard to believe a judge would see this and not have some sort of sanction, because people typically are getting, like I said, sent to prison for these types of things.
Johnathan, let me play you. I believe you're in Virginia, right?
Yes.
All right. So did you watch the Attorney General's debate last night with Jay Jones?
I saw clips of it.
All right, I want to play you his apology for those horrific text messages. And this is, guys, I need some audio potted up, please. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
And you're also going to hear from my opponent about text messages that I sent that I deeply, deeply regret. Let me be very clear. I am ashamed. I am embarrassed. And I'm sorry. I am sorry to Speaker Gilbert. I'm sorry to his family. I'm sorry to my family. And I'm sorry to every single Virginian.
So I don't know. People are saying that was a BS, air quote, apology. Is there any recovering for Jay Jones from what those text messages showed?
No, he's done in Virginia, and I think most people that follow this know he's done. It's just a matter of can Spanberger, who's at the top of the ticket running for governor, hang on, and she still has a small lead. But, yeah, he's totally done, and it's weird the Democrats, which shows how radical they are, because none of them have said anything other than, hey, these were really bad, but I'm still voting for him. It's really interesting that nobody up here that I'm aware of has broken ranks and just thrown him under the bus or just say, we're done with this guy. I mean, it's so beyond the pale that you would talk about. And the way he talked about it didn't seem like it was just like the one-off conversation, the way these texts unfolded. You know, they're talking to things they've talked about before. But, yeah, he is totally done. The apology was embarrassing because it's like, I'll say enough, but then he talks about I'll be held accountable, but that's the one thing he's actually not being is held accountable, and not a single Democrat in Virginia is trying to hold him accountable, which I think ultimately hurts all of them. And it they had it, this race in hand at the top of the ticket. I don't think they do anymore, and it'll be interesting the next 3 weeks. But he's going to be just albatross on the top of the ticket up until the very end.
Well, listen, I think that that is actually good news for Winsome Sears and good news for conservatives in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Real quickly, Johnathan, how can people follow you on X?
John for Fairfax, and what do we do? The next first 10 get to call a play for the Titans this week?
You know what? They could probably do a better job than the former coach. I appreciate that. Thank you, Johnathan. Appreciate it. I thought my joke was funny. Whatever. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
There was a joke?